Hello, my name's Seth Coffey. I chose to do my differentiation and action strategy through Screencastify and through Google Slides. I have to be honest, I am not a fan of writing papers, as I'm sure many people are not. So I appreciate you differentiating for us so that we could choose a digital tool of our choice. So I'll jump right into it. The course that I did this for was my classroom management course that I started a couple years doing as a completely face-to-face course, and then it has evolved from face-to-face to hybrid to now completely online. And it's a course that Cherry Creek School District teachers can take for horizontal advancement credit, and it's open year long, and people just sign up for it. And I don't have, but maybe I think the most I've ever had since moving online is like 5 people in the class at one time. And then through that, I've just kind of tweaked the courses as I learn more about this. So some things that I've changed based off of this differentiation course is this pretest. So the strategy I chose was this pretest to really get the participants to focus in on one goal. I mentioned before that this course is focused all around Teacher Quality Standard 2, and it is a huge standard. So rather than teach the entire standard, I really want them to focus in on what's important to them. And I've also differentiated by the content. I provide a lot of choice that I'd like to show you here in a sec. So this is their action plan template, and they start by they take a self-assessment and reflect on these couple of questions here, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and based off of that, they create a goal. And that really becomes their focus for the course. I really want them to take this content and then put it into action and reflect on that. So I've provided these questions to help get them to take it back to their class. This is where they get their content. This is a Google Slides presentation that I have created, and it's intended to be very interactive. So rather than going from slide 1 to slide 2 to slide 3, they actually just click where they want to go. It's like kind of choose your own adventures, except for a Google Slides presentation. So this link takes them to the Department of Education's website to look for resources based on their goal. If their goal is focused on communication, I've created a way of reviewing some content. So if it's communication and their goal is student-to-student feedback, or a piece of their goal is around student-to-student feedback, they just click on this and it takes them to some resources for student-to-student feedback. Here I've given some choice in videos, and then one of them, this is an actual article. Then they can click back to home, and you can go to parent to teacher, and here I've provided some choice in the content as well. Providing videos, again, and articles, trying to differentiate. Another Google Slides presentation I've created is on the learning management, and this is probably the most popular one. And you start out on this home page here, and you have the choice to go to focus on relationships, motivation, your instructional arrangements, how your classroom is laid out, and then procedures and routines. So again, just like the other one, you click on the R and it takes you to all these different resources here that I have. So that's pretty much all the course is centered around. The particular strategies I chose were intended to really provide a purpose, a very narrow focus on what they wanted to accomplish in this class, what they wanted to learn about in this class. As I had mentioned earlier, Standard 2 is huge. And rather than just scrape the surface on everything, I wanted them to be able to focus in on several different indicators in Standard 2. And I think that this really motivated participants. They got to focus in on really what they want to do, giving them what they need. So for the specifics on how this went out, like I kind of mentioned before, they sign up for the class. I give them a questionnaire on how familiar they are with online courses, just so I know how much support I need to do on the technical side. And then I give them this pre-test to determine a focus. And you saw what the reflection template looked like for that. The pre-test is pretty lengthy, and it goes into detail into all of the indicators for Standard 2. So I've generated questions for all of those. And then after that, they reflect and write a goal. And then they just go into those modules that I showed you and reflect on the action plan template, which kind of forces them to take the content and put it into action. Well, that was my intended goal for that. Overall, I think it went pretty well. The pretest was a huge success. That has been a game changer for this course. I think they really appreciate the modules rather than me just doing a screencastify and talking to them, or rather than just watching one video. I think they like the choice, and I think it's visually appealing. And not all, but most of the content has been pretty helpful based off some feedback I've received from participants. A couple of things that I need to change moving forward. The resources on the Department of Education website are not good. So I need to develop more modules for Standard 2. I already have one for communication. I already have one for the learning environment. That's a great start. But rather than rely on the Department of Education, I need to just create my own, create more, and go in and replace some of the content. It was pretty hard, as I'm sure you're aware of, like finding some really good stuff that isn't just long articles, so I need to do a lot more digging into that. Let's see, the data revealed kind of what I had mentioned before. The pretest was pretty powerful. Their reflections for the pretest and when they wrote their goal, I feel like we're the most in depth. I'm sure you can tell too when your participants are really into the conversation and really into what they're writing about, and some that are just not really into it. I felt that they wrote the most. They were the most powerful piece was the pretest, and you can see their work here. I'll link this presentation, and these pieces of work are here for you to check out if you'd like, just to see what I'm talking about. And based on their responses, the content didn't always really give them what they wanted. They would click on, for example, student-to-student feedback, but it really wasn't what they wanted. I didn't give them enough meat for that. So that went into my reflection on how I need to add some different content. To do that, I'm going to reach out to some of my colleagues. I have a great support group of colleagues, all the other coordinators for the district. So really going to rely on them to gather some more content for them. And then whenever the participants are done, they are required to fill out a feedback form, which is great. So I will be gathering that feedback from them. And then I got to figure out a way to determine more reflection into the experience, like going into their classroom, add another piece of homework for that. So this is it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for providing me with the option to do this. And please let me know if you have any questions. Looking forward to your feedback.